why should the American people believe that this president takes classified material seriously and the handling of it?
Look, the American people heard from the president directly on this when he was asked by your colleagues at least twice now about how he sees this process. And he was very clear with the response of what we're currently seeing. And I think as it relates to the American people and the president standing with the American people, it is going to be up to them to decide how they see this president.
So that was White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre taking questions from the White House Press Corps following the discovery of another batch of classified documents at President Biden's Delaware home. This new batch included documents that go back allegedly to his days as a United States Senator. Now, while Biden's handling of classified documents has only recently come under scrutiny, one former White House communications staffer claiming this has been a chronic issue for Biden. Todd McKinley is a former vice presidential response officer and retired U.S. Army paratrooper. He worked directly within Vice President Biden for the first year of the Obama-Biden presidency. Todd, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate that. I want to walk through your experience, but first, for many, maybe their first time hearing a vice presidential response officer, what is the duty of that role?
Yes, sir, Sean. Emma, thanks for having me on the show. Great show, by the way. So the duty of that is basically you do the continuity of the government and continuity of the presidency. So anywhere the vice president goes, you're right there in tandem with the military aid, the physician to the vice president. And of course, anything that were to happen, say the vice president needs to step up and become the president, you're there to ensure that he has all the communications assets available to him. In an emergency situation.
So taking that knowledge that you have, and again, what we pointed out is your service that you've given there in that first year, and you see these classified documents come to light, being found up to, I believe, 5 different times. Right. Now, as of recent, with classified markings, as of recent, could date back to when Biden was a senator. Are you surprised?
No.
Thinking back to your role, your answer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Not at all. And I can tell you, the first time I went on an Amtrak ride with him was up to New York over the Valentine's Day weekend. He went up with his wife to watch a show, and he was reading classified documents then. And I made mention to the military aide who kind of reached up and said something to him. And he said, well, don't worry about that. I've been doing this for years. And, all these people here are basically family because he knows some of the people's names. So he considered them family as if they were cleared to be able to read what he was reading over his shoulder. And I noticed on a number of occasions on separate trips to, say, Delaware, where people were looking over his shoulder, and had they had nice smart devices like we have now, they would have been able to take great photos of those documents. However, they were, 2009 didn't have the best cameras that we do now, but I noticed a number of people trying to look over the shoulder and read what he was reading.
So to be very clear, to be blunt, you say
Yes.
you've watched the president, you've watched Biden, at that time, Vice President Biden, handle classified documents in a pretty much public setting. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, sir. Very open and public setting. And I've also watched him have classified conversations, on what we had is a QSEC at the time, and people could look that up to see what that is. And he could have had classified discussions, but he was having them in an open Amtrak car with the White House Situation Room as well. And the military aide made sure that I stayed on the train just before it would take off to clear any documents that he may have left in the seats. And on a number of occasions, he did leave documents, whether they're classified or unclassified is besides the point. But he would leave documents in his seat as he got off the train. So that's another issue right there.
Do you think that more documents would be found? It appears to be that each and every weekend there are more that are found. And now the FBI is involved in the investigation. There's now a special counsel. This has escalated. Your thoughts on that? Do you think more could be found? And how do you think this gets handled by the DOJ?
Yeah, well, I don't think the DOJ is really going to do anything. This is more of a, hey, we're going after President Biden just the same as we went after President Trump. And it may be a way for them to kind of push him out of the way. So he, in the next 2 years, he's not going to be running for president. But I don't think nothing's going to come of it. And I don't think anything's going to be, they're going to go after President Trump a little bit more, perhaps. But I don't think he's going to be indicted or anything as well, which neither should he. But President Biden, I mean, obviously this goes back to his time in the Senate and as vice president. He had no authority to do any of this stuff. So I think that it's a different situation whenever you're dealing with Biden. I think they should indict him and go after him. I don't think they're going to, though.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Again, Todd McKinley joining us with his, what he says his first-hand account is of witnessing this situation unfold. We appreciate that. Most of all, we appreciate your service to our
Thank you. God
military.
bless you guys.
Thank you. Todd McKinley.